Hey there, and thanks for joining us here at the Lockbox Advantage. As promised, today we are going to be chatting about how to best leverage DISC personality profiles in your business to make sure you're building deeper connections and more effectively prospecting. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The plan here today, so first off, we're going to understand exactly what DISC personality types are and why they matter to agents, or at least why they should matter. I want you guys to understand how to identify each personality type, and I want to define best communication strategies for each personality type. And lastly, we're going to make sure that you are prepared with best practices in delivering undesirable news in the event that that can happen, because we know sometimes that can happen. Ultimately, the goal here is just for you to be able to better leverage all of this information to forge deeper connections and longer lasting relationships with your customers. So let's get started. All right, so to start with, DISC. I think probably most of you have heard of this before. It's essentially a personality profile tool with 4 primary categories, right? We have your high D, your high I, your high C, and your high S's. The D is traditionally referred to as the driver or the dominant personality type. I is traditionally referred to as the influencer type. C is usually referred to as either the conscientious type or the, the word's blowing my mind, but we're going to call it conscientious for today. And S is usually referred to as being steady. So those are the 4 main personality types that we're going to kind of dive into. It's important to understand that most people are going to have a primary category that they fit into, but nobody just stays just in one. Most people are going to be a combination of any of these with one dominant force that you're going to want to be able to recognize to adjust your communication styles. So the reason we do this is really because of the platinum rule. And most people have heard of the golden rule, right? You want to treat people the way you'd like to be treated. That's the golden rule. We've all heard it. The platinum rule, however, is that you should really be treating people the way they want to be treated. So understanding these different personality types is going to help you better achieve that goal, right? Better follow that rule, better connect with people, because you're going to be providing them the services and the experiences that they actually want out of their interactions with you. So we'll get started with the dominant personality type, the high D. And the one thing that matters most to this dominant personality type is going to be results. They are not interested in getting the play-by-play for the journey for you to get to your finish line. They just want to make sure you're at the finish line. And so things for you to consider here in understanding the high D clients in real estate. A, they're very, very decisive. They're going to make decisions quickly, and they're going to expect you to process information quickly. They're super driven, they're goal-oriented, they're going to have a task in mind that they need to accomplish, and they're going to really respect you if you keep that task top of mind in your service of them. They are very direct communicators, right? So they are not going to beat around the bush, concerned about how their message might hurt your feelings. They're just going to blurt it out. They prefer brevity, they prefer clarity. So you are not going to want to send this person a 5-paragraph email. You're going to want to send this person a 3-sentence email with 5 bullet points and send. They're also very challenge-oriented. So these are people that thrive in competition. They want to win. And that's something you should really keep in mind when you're working with these folks and negotiating contracts. Lastly, super independent. They're going to prefer to take lead in just about every situation. And this is one of the things that I hear real estate agents really struggle with super high D personalities, because sometimes if you're not careful, a high D will really just kind of run you through the ringer and tell you how it's going to go. When we want to make sure that while our clients are certainly holding the map and they need to feel in control of leading those decisions, it's really important that you maintain your place in the driver's seat so that nothing gets missed, right? So you're going to have to find a very delicate balance here in serving your client and providing that experience and helping them feel in control with complete transparency while also guiding them to make the best possible decisions. Now, things that you need to keep in mind when you are communicating with a high D. Again, you want to be super direct and super concise. You want to make sure that you're focused on results and efficiency at all time. You know, if you are going to be in a competitive solicitation situation, it's going to be important that you highlight how your services can lead to their desired outcomes efficiently, because that's what they care about. It's really important that when you do need to communicate with these people, you are offering them choices, not challenges. Don't ever say, well, you can't do that. Say, it's going to be more efficient for you to do either A or B instead. Does that make sense? And lastly, show confidence and competence when communicating with the high D. You want to maintain eye contact. You want to speak surely. You want to have a confident cadence, a confident tonality, because if they sense weakness, they're not going to trust you. All right, moving right along. The high I, the influential influencer. And what's most important, like the one thing for the I's, is interaction, right? High I people really, really enjoy feeling validated, feeling loved, feeling appreciated. They want to chit chat with you and be recognized for all of the contributions they're making to whatever interaction is taking place. And you have to keep that in mind. You cannot communicate the same way with a high I as you would a high D and expect both individuals to have a positive experience. So it's very, very important that you remember to kind of flower it up when you're talking to a high I. And so understanding what to look for, high I's are super duper sociable, right? They enjoy being around large crowds. They're often going to be the life of the party. These are the people that are going to walk into your open house and immediately compliment your shoes. That is your high I. Now, they're also super optimistic. They have a positive outlook on life. They can be very motivating to the people around them. These are the people that are more likely to say, you know, it's going to be okay. That's all right. Let's not worry about it. That can be wonderful and both challenging in a real estate transaction. So it's going to be important that you are able to kind of guide these people to realistic solutions without harshing their mellow. They can also be super persuasive because they're so sociable, because they're so great at connecting with people. It's relatively easy for them to use their charm to influence other people's decisions, right? That's why they're the influence. That's why they're targeted by influences, right? They also genuinely dislike routine and anything mundane in general. These are people who like excitement. So you would not necessarily want to break down for them a step-by-step plan for the next 30 days. You're going to want to give them the high points, say, we're going to do A, B, and C. I'm going to handle all the middle part, and you're going to end up in a home. And they're going to really prefer that to the more detailed, arduous process explanation. Okay, now when you're communicating with your high I clients, you need to maintain your energy. You have to be personable and engaging. You need to stay in conversation, and you need to recognize their positive attributes. High I's traditionally enjoy external validation. So if they walk in and they're complimenting your shoes, you need to figure out what about their outfit you love and compliment that bag or their hairstyle or whatever, because that's going to be really important to them, that kind of recognition is reciprocated. It's going to make a world of difference if you're able to use stories and anecdotes to explain complicated concepts, okay? Because they're going to engage with that information a lot more easily. It's going to be important that these people feel as though their ideas are being encouraged. So when you're walking through the house and they say, I just really wish there was a bathroom here. I wonder if we could put a bathroom here. You don't say like, well, you're not going to be able to afford to put a bathroom here. You say something like, well, I think it would make a ton of sense for you to get a bid to see what that might look like, right? We're not going to say you can't afford it, but we're going to say, That sounds really cool because it does. And you should get a bid to see what that would look like. We're not going to be Debbie Downers with the high I. It's going to be really important that any sort of data-heavy information you have to deliver to a high I be visually interactive. So you cannot give a long 10-page bullet point list to someone who is a high I and expect them to retain any of that information. They're going to gloss over. It's very, very important that you keep that in mind when you are conveying complex things like, hey, a real estate transaction. You also need to make sure that you are consistently following up with personal touches. They are not impressed by the automated email or the automated text. They want you to call, ask them how their day was, say that, hey, I remember little Susie had a soccer game. How did she do? They need all of that personal communication before you jump into the business. So you have to keep that in mind. And in terms of things to avoid, right? Do not overload these people with extra data or details. They don't care. Don't be overly formal or rigid with your interaction because, again, they want to feel a social connection with the person that they work with. And make sure that you do not neglect your follow-up. And it has to be personal follow-up. It cannot be automated. They will not appreciate that. Okay, next personality type are steady Eddies, the high S personalities. These are people who value predictable support. Okay, so what that means is that they don't want to wonder if they can reach out to you for help. They want to know that you are going to be the person that absolutely has their back and makes things better. These are people who will traditionally bend over backwards to help the people that they care about. And they really, really value feeling that that attribute is reciprocated for them. The worst thing you can do with a high S personality type is not show up for them. So you really want to keep that in mind. You cannot disappoint this person because they are going to work so hard not to disappoint you. Now, when we're going through here and understanding the basic traits that define a high S, again, supportive and steady. They are dependable pillars in teams and relationships. They will always go the extra mile. They are exceptional listeners. These are the people in the friend group that everyone tells all their secrets to because they are so dependable and so reliable and really, really good at just listening. They are very team-oriented. They like to feel as though they're collaborating and supporting other individuals. They can sometimes be a little bit resistant to change. So you're going to need to keep that in mind and have a ton of patience when you're working with that type of personality. Now, these folks are conflict averse. These are the folks that will absolutely ghost you if they have bad news, because they just don't want to face any uncomfortable situation where they feel like they might be disappointing somebody else. So you have to be really, really cognizant of that and be incredibly open and welcoming and warm anytime there's some sort of perceived conflict. They are very motivated by appreciation. Much like the high I's, they want to feel recognized. So don't forget that piece of it, right? Don't forget to say thank you. Don't forget to say that's really great that you thought that out so thoroughly. I have never seen anyone so prepared, if that's the case, right? So just be aware that when these people go the extra mile, because they're always going the extra mile, a lot of times they don't get recognized for it. If you are the person that recognizes that energy and effort that they put into going the extra mile, it is going to mean the world to them. So please keep that in mind. Now, when you're communicating with your high S clients, remember to approach them with a calm, friendly demeanor. It's a little bit different than the I's, right? Because the I's, you're going to want to have super high energy. You're going to want to talk about how great the weather is, how cute their bag is, and how much fun you're going to have. That will not work with a high S client. That will be way overstimulating. A high S client is going to want you to be warm, going to want you to be there to support them. And they're going to want to have an overall calm, confident presence in their agent. And that's the part you want to play here because you want them to feel confident in you and your services. You need to provide assurance and stability in your proposals. You also need to give them time to process information. Okay, these people are not super fast thinkers by nature. They are thoughtful by nature, right? That's why they think to do all the extra things for all of the people around them. And when it comes time to making critically important financial decisions, they're going to want to have time to process that as well. So be very patient with your high S personality types. When you come to a position where change becomes absolutely necessary, which is a lot in a real estate transaction, you're going to want to be very, very sure that you're highlighting how those changes are positive for them, because they are going to do a great job of finding the negative, unfortunately. Help them understand why it's good, okay? And again, this is a personality type that's going to appreciate anecdotes and stories. So make sure that you share those kinds of anecdotes and stories, but they should always emphasize the way you've supported your people, how your network, your team, your brokerage, your business is going to be in the best possible position to support them, because these people want to feel equally supported to the level of support they provide to others. All right, the conscientious C. I identify with this personality type. This is the person that cares more than anything about getting it right. It has to be accurate. It has to be the best possible solution. So it's really, really interesting when you're comparing your C's and your D's. A lot of time these folks get mixed up because they can both be perceived as somewhat prickly depending on the personality type on the other side. What you have to understand is that the high C's want it done right. The high D's want it done now. And that's really the primary difference here. Now, as you're working with these high C personality types, you're going to notice they are incredibly detail oriented. These are the people that are going to walk into the open house, immediately see that this house is not going to work for them because there's not a bedroom on the first level. And they are still going to go upstairs and open every cabinet and turn on every faucet because they want to collect the information. They want to be able to compare this house to the next house mentally. So you have to have a lot of patience because of how detail-oriented and analytical these folks really are. Yes, and methodical. They're going to have a process laid out in their minds for how they want things done, and you cannot shortcut that process for them. You need to be able to slowly and clearly explain every single detail of their transaction and all of the options that they're going to have to select, okay? You have to have patience when dealing with a high C. Keep in mind, they also are incredibly quality conscious. And I think for us real estate agents right now, that's a really great thing. A lot of times, we hear things like, oh, I can find a house on my own. I don't need a real estate agent. The high C individual is a person that's going to understand why that doesn't make sense. They're going to understand that finding the home is the least of what you do, right? Anybody can find a home. We all have Zillow and Realtor.com. That's not the hard part. The hard part comes in with negotiation, with leveraging personal relationships to make sure that your offer is the one that gets accepted. The hard part is managing all of the paperwork and understanding the timelines, understanding the inspections, the appraisals, the HOA docs. If you're somebody that can explain all of that to a high C, they're going to be more than happy to compensate you accordingly because they have spent the time to break down mentally all of the value that you're bringing to the transaction. Another thing to keep in mind, high C individuals are traditionally fairly reserved. It doesn't mean that they don't like you, but these are not folks that are going to instantly walk up and give you a hug, and that is okay. Like I said, where the high I's are going to be so bubbly and fun and probably talk a little faster, you're going to notice the high C's are going to speak in a lower tonality. They're going to have a more methodical cadence, and they're likely to keep a professional distance when communicating with you. It could be in time that you earn a more personal relationship but be respectful of the time that it's going to take them to make that connection with you. Okay, now when you're communicating with high C clients, provide as much detail as possible. In terms of detail, more is better 100% of the time with these personality types. They want every single bit of information you have, and they want to be able to take the time to review it all, okay? Focus on the facts, and facts don't have feelings, guys. You've heard me say this before. They do not care how you feel about a transaction. What they care very much about are what the facts at hand are. So make sure that you stay on the facts when you're communicating with these folks. Respect their process, be patient, let them go through their review, make sure they are prepared to make the best possible decision. They're going to respect that. Okay, make sure that you highlight precision and quality, both in a property, in a contract, and in every opportunity throughout the transaction. And then lastly, be prepared for questions. There are going to be many, okay? Even if you provide the most detailed explanation that is humanly possible, you have to understand they're going to have questions anyway. Answer them with a smile, answer them patiently, answer them confidently, answer them clearly. That's going to be very, very important in earning the respect of your high C clients. Okie doke. Now, it's really, really important then that we understand the different personality types when it comes time to delivering negative information in a high stakes situation. Now, it's so important, and if you're being honest with yourself, if you do some self-reflection, right? Usually, you are not your shiniest version of yourself when you are in the highest state of stress. And we have to keep in mind here, you guys, that these folks, these buyers and sellers, are engaged of the largest, most significant financial transaction they have ever made in their entire life. And that can be stressful. Now, in every real estate transaction, there are small bumps, and that's okay. We know how to navigate it. We know how to navigate those bumps. We are professionals. We know how to fix the problems, but they don't know that. So when we deliver information, we need to make sure we're tailoring that message in a way that is going to instill as much confidence and calm as possible. When you are delivering somewhat bad news to a high D personality, okay, you have to keep in mind that individuals with a dominant D personality, they tend to become a little bit more impatient. They tend to become more demanding when they are feeling really, really stressed out. So you have to communicate clearly, efficiently, quickly, and directly. Make sure that you're always focused on results. Make sure that you are always delivering a possible solution when delivering a problem. Now, the high I personality, a little bit different, right? They are going to be a little more scattered. They're going to be overly expressive. These are the people like, oh my God, this is so stressful. That's your high I people. And we've all worked with those folks, right? In order to support them through a speed bump, it's going to be really important that you maintain your positivity. You still have to be fun and energetic and okay. You have to reassure them that it's going to be fine, and you have to keep them focused on the solution. Don't let them spiral out of control about the problem, because they will. Now, when you're dealing with a high S personality, again, high S personalities can be somewhat resistant to change. They can be somewhat indecisive. You have to show patience and calm. You have to provide them with reassurances and detailed information that allows them to put in that forethought to understand their next step. Make sure that you are, again, calm, consistent, steady, supportive when you're dealing with that high S personality. Last, we've got our C, our conscientious people, our compliance-minded people. These are the folks that get a little bit overly critical and can sometimes be indecisive when they're in high states of stress. These are the people that absolutely loved the house when they walked in, found out their appraisal was a little short, and now feel like, that crack in the driveway could be a foundation issue. We don't know. What if the whole thing collapses, right? And that happens. It's not because they're unreasonable people. It's because they are at a high state of stress and they are terrified that they could be making the wrong decision in the largest financial transaction of their life. So it's very, very important that you be there to reassure them with all of the data. That's all they want from you. They want to have every single detail available to ensure that they're making the best possible decision. You've got to give the most thorough explanation possible. And again, you need to be open for questions because your high C personality types need to feel that they are in control when things are not going according to plan. Okay? All right. So just in general, tricks for managing stress and maintaining effective communication. Active listening, we know this to be true. You have to make sure that the person on the other end of your conversation believes that you're listening. They have to know that you're hearing the words they're saying. You're going to want to make sure, obviously, that you adapt your communication style to be sure that you're putting your consumer at ease. You're going to want to stay calm. You're going to want to stay positive. You're going to want to provide consistent, regular updates. And this is important. So I really like to tell my clients up front, hey, we're going to have a lot of hurdles to jump over the next however many days while we're in contract, right? Depending on how the contract is written. It's great if you can set the expectation of when they will hear from you. So just say, if something goes wrong, you're going to hear from me immediately to make sure that we're righting the ship as quickly as possible. Now, if everything goes according to plan, no matter what, you're going to hear from me every single Friday with an update on what we've accomplished so far and what we hope to accomplish in the next 7 days. If you set that expectation, you're already removing the stress from them wondering, I wonder what's going on. I wonder why I haven't heard from them, because they're going to know no news is good news and they're going to get that confirmation every single Friday. And of course, you're going to need to honor that commitment to them and make sure that you are in fact communicating every single Friday or whatever day of the week you select. Make sure that you encourage people to take breaks and reflect. High-stake transactions can be super overwhelming. And if you tell people, hey, let's take a step back when emotions are running high, you'll find that you are able to solicit a lot more clear thinking. And that's really what you need in a situation like that. Okay, so again, more bad news delivery. It is inevitable. It is going to happen, and it is okay. You just want to make sure that you are delivering the message in a way that your consumer is best prepared to respond to it, right? So we've got some basic rules of thumb here. For dominant personality types, be direct and to the point, offer solutions. That's it. Hey, so-and-so, here's the challenge. This just happened. These are your options to move forward. Let me know what you think is the best path, because again, high Ds like to feel like they're in control. Now for high Is, if at all possible, try to control the setting that they're in when they hear the news, right? If you know that they have a stressful job and they are going to be working until 4 o'clock, maybe call them after that. If you know that they're going to be home, they're going to be comfortable, maybe pop in and deliver that news face to face. Always, always, always highlight the silver lining with a high I, right? So just say, hey, the appraisal came in a little bit low. The good news is that could mean that we have an opportunity to negotiate a little bit. So you've got to make sure that you're highlighting the positives of whatever bump you may be navigating in that transaction. Now for the high S personality type, again, provide support. Make sure they know we have a challenge and I'm your champion. I'm going to be here to go the extra mile and make sure that this challenge does not knock you off your path completely. That's going to be important. It's also going to be important to allow them all the time they need to make a decision. They're going to need it. Let them take the time to think, talk it out with them. Let them have their thoughts become words, and walk you through whatever thought process they're circling in. They will appreciate it. Now with your high C personality types, again, it's a broken record, details and facts, and then discuss the logical next step. They do not care about the feelings. So focus on the solution. And just general tips. This is going to work for everybody. It's going to be great. My personal rule of thumb, you deliver good news fast, you deliver bad news immediately. Nobody likes feeling left in the dark or lied to. So it is critical that you do not avoid delivering bad news. That is a guaranteed way to break trust with your customer. And that's hard to get back. If you've lost trust, they're not going to trust you again for the rest of that transaction. So don't make that mistake. Tell them what's going on. Let them feel a part of the solution. Let them feel confident that you're able to find the solution. Obviously, empathy is key. Regardless of the personality type, nobody wants you to seem crass or careless or as if their needs are not significant. So you have to deliver the message with empathy for how that news is potentially going to impact them. And lastly, follow up. After the initial decision, make sure you follow up. You need to make sure that they understand everything, they're happy with the way things are progressing. It's always, always, always to your benefit to follow up, okay? All right, guys, it was a quick one today. Final thoughts. Using your DISC profile principles in real estate is just about enhancing your sales technique, okay? And every stage of this really is a sales situation. It's in your prospecting, it's in your conversion, it's in your servicing, because every single time we're interacting with our clients, we need to be earning their business again. So provide the experience that they're looking for. You're going to find you build way more meaningful connections, longer lasting relationships, and ultimately a healthier, more thriving business. So I hope that was helpful to y'all. I hope you have a great day. I hope that I see you next Friday, and I will sign off from here. Bye, guys.